The phrase, "those who worked, those who prayed, and those who fought," describes the feudal societal structure that developed in medieval Europe, particularly from the 9th to the 15th century. This tripartite model of society illustrates the division of people into three distinct classes, each with specific roles and responsibilities. Those who worked, peasants and serfs. This group consisted of peasants, serfs, and laborers who worked the land. They were responsible for producing food and resources that sustained the entire society. In return, they received protection from the nobility, but had few rights and limited social mobility. Living conditions. Most peasants lived in small villages or manors under the control of a local lord. They worked long hours on the land, often giving a significant portion of their produce as rent or taxes. Legal and economic status. Many of these workers were serfs, bound to the land and unable to leave without the lord's permission. Their lives were difficult, with limited freedom and harsh living conditions. 2. Those who prayed, clergy. Role and responsibilities. The clergy represented the religious class, including priests, monks, and nuns, as well as higher-ranking church officials like bishops. They provided spiritual guidance, held religious services, and maintained monasteries and churches. The church wielded significant power in medieval society, often influencing political decisions and social norms. Church leaders sometimes owned vast tracts of land and collected tithes, a form of tax, from the population. The clergy were often among the few literate members of society and were responsible for preserving knowledge, maintaining libraries, and educating select members of society. The nobility and knights made up the warrior class. They were responsible for defending the land and upholding the law within their territories. In exchange, they received land fiefs from the king or higher nobles, which serfs and peasants would work. Knights owed military service to their lords, often participating in battles and crusades. The nobility governed and managed their estates and settled local disputes. Nobles enjoyed privileges and wealth, with many living in castles or manors. They held considerable influence over both the economy and the legal system, overseeing the serfs and peasants on their land. This structure emphasized mutual dependence. Peasants provided food and labor, supporting both the clergy and the nobility. Clergy offered religious justification for the existing social order and provided education and care to both peasants and nobles. Nobles protected the land, including the peasants and clergy, ensuring stability. Limitations of the model. While this model describes the major societal roles, medieval society was more complex in practice. There were also merchants, artisans, and townspeople who didn't fit neatly into these categories, especially as towns and trade grew, gradually transforming society and contributing to the end of feudalism.